but we'd love to get you here in January. So with that, Alex, I want to turn this over to you, if you don't mind giving a brief overview.
Yep, we'll go ahead and get started. Megan, if you're ready with the PowerPoint, just bring that up real quick.
All right. Can you guys see that okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Wonderful.
So if you want to go ahead and skip to the next one, this is the WC Micro Mixer for Spirit AeroSystems for our micro internships coming up. Go ahead and play the quick video for you.
Give me a second, guys. I apologize.
Hey team, it looks like we may not have the audio going on the video. More importantly, the link to the video will be sent out in the presentation afterwards if we can't get it playing. So
yeah, I apologize, guys, for the technical difficulties.
It's not 2020 if we don't have something like this going on. So we always say that we're gonna lead with grace and always be unexpected. We're flexible.
Yeah, I apologize. I can wait, right? Apparently not.
Press on to the next slide, and again, Lee, I would say thank you for the
Well, as Tom actually mentions in the video that you weren't able to hear, unfortunately, Spirit is the global leader in tier one supplier of aerostructures for many of the main aerospace companies in the world, mostly supplying Boeing and Airbus, as well as growing as a defense supplier for companies like Northrop Grumman, Sikorsky, Bell, and many others. With our overall portfolio of aerostructures that we produce is generally spread between fuselage, propulsion, and wing structures. We are actually growing our aftermarket capabilities. You may have just heard we finished up an acquisition of former subsidiary of Bombardier. We did that at the end of October. So that helps add in some extra aftermarket work that will be based out of Dallas. Go ahead and skip to the next one. Innovation is definitely one of Spirit's key focuses, and we have several patented technologies that are proprietary, and Spirit definitely focuses and leans on. So these are actually 4 of our patents and technologies that are really kind of driving some of the latest innovations that we're working on. The first one being IRIS, which is Intelligent Resonant Fusion System. It actually helps Spirit better manufacture complex composite wing structures, and it helps reduce costs by about 20%. NDI is pretty much what it sounds like, the non-destructive inspection. This technology allows many of our complex structures to be inspected basically from the inside out through lasers and cameras and other technologies, which helps decrease the potential for damage to the structures during those inspection processes. Inflection allows us to build larger and more complex composite aerostructures in essentially one continuous piece. So instead of having to piecemeal them all together, they're just all one massive product. And then lastly, Spirit Exact kind of helps minimize the need for part locating tools, which helps increase quality and reducing costs. Let's skip to the next one. One of our main pieces that we like to emphasize is our capacity for high volume production here at Spirit. This is really what's kind of helped us become the largest tier 1 supplier in the world. Our main example of this is on the 737 line there in the middle. Before the unfortunate accidents and the grounding and everything early last year, Spirit was producing roughly 52 aircraft ship sets per month. That is obviously not what we're producing today, but the plan for 2021 that last I've heard is roughly about 20 ship sets per month. And then hopefully by 2022, we move up to about 30. That's kind of Boeing's forecast. And hopefully by a few years after that, we'll be back up to the 52 and then move into the 57 that was planned. So hopefully we'll move into that soon. Go on to slide 6. So Spirit truly is a global company. Obviously, that's kind of unique to Wichita, being able to claim that we have locations on 3 different continents. Through some of the acquisitions, our total employees globally is just under 15,000 now. 10,000 of that is in the US, and then roughly 8,000 here in Wichita alone. Through all of those locations, we have roughly 16 million square feet. Most of that is production facilities. We do have quite a bit of office space as well. But with the most recent acquisition of the Schwartz Brothers subsidiary of Bombardier, that was the one that wrapped up at the end of October. We added in location in Dallas and 2 locations in Europe and one location in Europe and 1 in Africa, with Belfast in Northern Ireland and then Casablanca, Morocco. Some of our legacy sites are St. Nazaire, France, Prestwick, Scotland, and Spain, Malaysia, as well as Tulsa, Oklahoma, McAlester, and Kinston. We did finish an acquisition, a much smaller one, earlier this year in 2020, based out of Biddeford, Maine. It's a subsidiary called FMI, and they focus mainly on hypersonic flight and missile and defense technology. Go ahead and skip to the next one. Spirit is very, very heavy in the communities that we're located in, regardless of location and across the world. We put a big emphasis on donating both money and time. So over the years, we have donated millions and millions of dollars through both corporate grants and our employee-led Good Neighbor Fund. This is in addition to over 10,000 hours of service through Team Spirit, where employees go out and pick select projects to volunteer with throughout the communities. Good Neighbor Fund is actually a employee-elected board of directors, and for that organization, it's independent of Spirit. And this board of directors makes decisions on where the donations will actually be made. Most of these generally are focused towards the health and human service organizations. So if you want to think of like United Way and those type of organizations, that tends to be where most of our donations go, at least the bulk of it. Some of the work Spirit and its employees have done over the last few years. Big initiative is mentoring students who are interested in STEM careers and providing school supplies for thousands of US children. We support a local orphanage in Malaysia, based out of our Subang site. They spend a lot of time with them. And then in the UK, we have refurbished a children's respite facility. So that's just a few of the many things that our employees volunteer at and donate for. We'll go on to the next slide. And then this slide kind of demonstrates some of our major work packages, kind of our overall main systems that we work on. So everything you see in the dark blue on all the aircraft, that is what Spirit produces. Our company mostly features and focuses on the design and build phases of all this production. And we do work on nearly all of the Boeing and Airbus projects and work packages that they have in their portfolios. For Boeing commercial airplanes, we have at least had a hand in all of our hardware is on at least every aircraft that is up flying in the air at the moment. And we are rapidly growing our work statement with Airbus, so I'm sure we'll be close to that. that kind of level soon. As I mentioned earlier, some of our main contractors, defense contractors that we work with are Bell, Northrop Grumman, and Sikorsky. And then we have a fairly sizable work package on the new B-21 Raider. That is all for the defense group. And then we have recently announced a partnership with Arion Corporation. They are focusing and working towards building a new supersonic business jet. So you should be able to get from New York to London in just a handful of hours instead of 6 to 8. We'll move on to the next slide. So this is one of my favorite parts of working at Spirit, is when the Dreamlifter lands here at our facilities. This aircraft is big enough to carry 2 Section 41s of the 787, which is the forward fuselage. So think cockpit and pretty much everything right behind it. This aircraft usually comes to town a couple times a week to pick up a couple of these. And what happens is the back of the plane opens and swings out, and then they slide in 2 of these Section 41s. It's usually pretty hard to hide when the plane's here. You can see it sticking out over the top of all the other facilities and plants sitting right in front of it next to the runway. Move on to the next one is Dock. This is another one of our major programs that we are proud to show off, and is actually one of the micro internships today. I'm sure Amy will be happy to talk about this in more detail shortly, but Dock was a collaborative effort by volunteers from Boeing and Spirit to refurbish this aircraft and make it airworthy again. So if you've been around Wichita and looked up in the sky over the last probably year or two, you may have seen Dock flying around. It definitely travels around quite a bit to air shows and other stuff, but it's housed in its own museum in actually next to the airport here in Wichita. So it's open to the public, so you guys are always more than welcome to go check it out. I suggest you do. It's pretty cool. And then this is kind of a deeper look at the Section 41 of Boeing 787, where it's produced. It is a completely composite aircraft, the 787. So we create this Section 41 all out of composite, and the composite looks almost like duct tape. We wrap it around a barrel, and then it gets put in a large oven essentially to cook it and cure it, and it comes out looking like an airplane. So when it leaves our facility on the Dreamlifter, it's 100% ready to fly. It has all the avionics, all the electronics, and everything else installed in there, tested and ready to go. So it's just missing the back half of the plane. And I believe it goes to either Washington State or South Carolina, but either of those locations, wherever it gets dropped off at, that's where it's assembled with the rest of the aircraft. And then this is a shot of our Plant 2, which is where we build the 737. This building itself has over 1 million square feet of manufacturing space. And essentially this is from our scenic Arulik, where you can stand in the facility and watch the plane go from raw material on one end all the way to a completed fuselage, and gets sent out the door and put on the rail car and taken up to Washington. So it's a fantastic place to go look. Unfortunately, this picture was taken quite a while ago when we were close to the rate 52. So it looks a little bit less busy now. When we were up at the higher rates, there was a lot of times the walking paths and everything else was taken up by a fuselage. So sometimes you had to get creative on where you walk. There was just so much going on. So we're hoping we get back to that soon. We'll get there in a few months, hopefully. Lane, I'll turn it back over to you to talk about how to apply and next steps.
Absolutely. So thank you, Alex, so much. Great little overview. I am really excited to be here today because this is the first time that Spirit has dipped a toe in the micro internship opportunity bucket, so to speak. So normally our interns are a summer program, and we really wanted to take this opportunity to capitalize on a delay in perhaps the spring semester. So what we've done is we've worked with some of our hiring managers, and we've put together 6 opportunities small projects, so to speak, where you can get real life experience. Once again, paid. I want to make sure everybody knows these are paid internships, but real life experience where you get to see what it is that we do out here, add this to your resume. More importantly, we get to meet you. I always like to say that each one of these opportunities is another chance to potentially receive a summer internship at the end of it. So we'd love to see some of these turn into either longer projects or longer relationships where we're able to build and capitalize on those, on these small projects. So everything is posted online at our spiritarrow.com/careers. I've linked in here to this presentation each one of the opportunities that we're going to go over today. So these are links directly to the application. So you're welcome to click on these. I've asked our Wichita State partners to email this entire presentation out to everyone so that you have the information as well. I also want to challenge you if you want a better chance to interview. So we have I'm seeing here and I'm so excited. There's 85 participants on here. What a wonderful turnout the week before Thanksgiving. But if you want a better chance to interview, if you apply, right, and send me an email, that's my email right there, lane.e.lint@spiritarrow.com. I'm going to randomly select 10 students that that email me to be guaranteed an interview. So we'll be working through that to make sure that over the next week or so. So here's the deal. Can you go to the next slide for me? Here are the requirements. All right. So I need you to have a 3.0 on a 4.0 scale. I need you to be in junior standing by the summer of 2021, right? So you could be a sophomore right now, but we want you to have enough bite to your classes that you're going to have an impact and that you're going to be able to contribute, right? But you can be a sophomore this year during this micro internship if it's allowable for some of the positions. But definitely you need to make sure you'll be in junior standing by the summer of 2021. And then more importantly, that your degree program lines up with the project. So we do have some engineering specific internships. Obviously you will need to have you need to be pursuing an engineering degree in order to qualify for that. From a timeline perspective, today is our micro mixer. Thank you all for attending. We have a relatively short application period for these 6 opportunities. So essentially today until the 29th, right? So you really have today until the end of the Thanksgiving break. Beginning on the 30th and through the 4th, we're going to be doing the selection process and scheduling for interviews. So really quick, short turnaround on that. And then we want to get offers out and extended and accepted that week of 12/7 to 12/11. So, and part of that is because we have a couple of quick, short contingencies, drug screen, background check, employment verification that we need to click through because our micro internship projects are starting on January 8th of 2021. And between now and Thanksgiving and the holiday time, we all know this time is going to go so quickly. But yes, you're still eligible if you're a senior, Michelle, absolutely. Sorry, I got distracted, squirrel. But the start date is 1/28. The estimated end date is 1/28. It could last longer. I want you to work that out. It has to be mutually agreeable, obviously, by your manager and yourself. You know, obviously school is the most important thing. That's why we wanted to partner with Wichita State. When we found out that the spring semester wasn't starting until February, we're like, let's see what we can do to get some top talent in. All right, I'm going to move on to the next slide. And this is really where I get to start handing this over to my managers. Megan, can you unmute Ron Rose for me? I know he's on. Ron has 2 opportunities to discuss. They're very exciting. Ron, you want to take a couple of minutes and kind of go over your 2 projects and tell these awesome students why they should come talk and come work with you.
Can you hear me?
Ron, oh, I can now. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. All right, sorry about that. Technical difficulties, as always. So, hey, my name is Ron Rose. I'm the first level manager of 2 groups here at Spirit AeroSystems. I do the first article inspections. We're going to start with that one and talk about it a little bit. So, every part that we manufacture here on site or that comes in from a supplier has to have what we call a first article inspection on it, which means that that very first part has to be inspected to make sure that it meets all the engineering criteria, the specifications that the customer requires of us for processing, say, paint or any chemical solutions that need to be put onto the part. All the hole diameters need to be checked, pockets, webs, all that kind of stuff. If you're in a mechanical engineering type of a field, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So we have to write up a plan that basically tells the inspectors in the shop what to look for and how to inspect that part. And every little detail, every characteristic on that part has to be recorded, and we provide that to the customer so that they know that we have done our job and inspected the part according to their specifications. So we use a number of software packages to do that. We use CATIA, we use Innovia, we use a system called NetInspect, which actually helps us create what we call our bubble drawings for all of the characteristics that we do. We interface a lot. I mean, I can't stress that enough. A lot with the shops, with the quality inspectors in the shop, to make sure that they understand and can inspect these parts properly. They get back with us if they find any discrepancies in the way we've done any of the planning, and we work with them. We collaborate with them on a daily basis. So you would really get an opportunity in this role to interface with shop personnel, quality inspectors, some management, and obviously my team. I would have a mentor on my team that would be working with you whenever you're here, to teach you how all this stuff works. So something I'm looking for in this role is some of the special skills that I want is somebody who's strong with Excel, Word and PowerPoint, because we do produce PowerPoint slides as well. Some CATIA knowledge. You don't have to be an expert. I don't expect you to have 20 years experience on CATIA because I know you don't have that, but just some basic CATIA background, understanding how to maneuver through and maybe get some dimensions by interrogating some models, and some mechanical aptitude. So really what I'm looking for is probably someone with that's going for a mechanical engineering degree, that would be interested in learning how to not only how to build a part, but how to look at it from the producibility side of it as well, and understand how the part can be produced in the shop and how to inspect to it. So that's kind of in a nutshell what I'm looking for. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I have a question.
Okay.
Would previous Spirit experience help for this position as well?
Yes, it would. What kind of a role were you speaking of, like you were in before?
I was an assembly mechanic on the 767s.
Okay, that would be great because that would give you some inside information about how the assemblies work as well. Not only do we do first article inspections on the detail parts, but we also do them on assemblies too. So your background in that area would definitely be a helpful, something helpful for you to have.
I also have non-destructive testing, a certification in non-destructive testing. I don't know if that also would help with this position.
Not so much with this position, but understanding inspection criteria overall would definitely be helpful and be a step up for you.
Right. So like the use of precision measurements, like calipers and all that stuff.
Exactly. On some of our plans, we have to tell the inspector what instrument to use to do the inspection. So that would be helpful to understand the basic inspection methods that are out there.
Okay. Alrighty. Thank you.
Great question. Thank you for that.
Sergio, I'm writing down your name, by the way. Thank you for asking the question. I'm going to be watching for your application.
Thank you.
Please apply.
Any other questions I can answer for anybody? I'd be glad to help you.
On the bottom there of the slide, it says 2 to 3 hours per day, 2 to 3 days per week. Is that just how much you would be working?
Originally, I think, and Lane, you can help me with this, but I think we were originally looking at having you come in during your actual semester school time. So we had anticipated that we would be, utilizing you for a certain period of time while you were actually still going to school. Now that we're looking at this from another standpoint, Lane, can you clarify maybe what our plans are for that?
Whatever is mutually agreeable between the employee and the manager. Ron, you need these people full time. You can have them full time for the time until they go to school.
Okay, very good. So this was our original intention,
Yeah.
just to have you for a couple of hours, in between your regular class periods, things like that. But I mean, I'm looking at, if we could utilize you for, 4 days a week, 5 days a week for the entire 3 to 4 week period, I'm all set for that. So we can agree on what works out best for you. All right.
Logan,
Anybody
great
else?
question.
It was. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Should we talk about your other opportunity?
We can, sure. Let's go ahead and talk about that one. I'm also over what we call the Lean Continuous Improvement Group. And we have a number of projects. What we do, let me give you a little bit of background to tell you what we do. We go out into the areas in the shop where they have opportunities for improvement. And we look and understand, first of all, what that shop does. What their current state is by looking at doing some analysis, some observations for a few days, taking photos, understanding, talking with the shop employees to understand how they do their job on a daily basis. And then we try to help them find ways to be more efficient in that job. Maybe it may mean moving some equipment around, or it might mean helping them to organize their toolbox better, or getting their fasteners, or what we call standards, closer to their work location, kind of a point of use type situation. We look at 6S, which is basically general cleaning of the area, make sure that it's presentable. Theory of constraints. We look at things to understand what is holding them back from doing their job. What is their bottleneck in that area? Just general understanding of how a shop works. So in this case, I'm looking for somebody that may be in an industrial engineering type field, because this ties in very closely with that, to understand, to do analysis, to do time studies, to look at flow, look at capacity analysis, something that an industrial engineer degree provides to you. But at the same time, I'm also looking for someone that has some mechanical aptitude with that as well, because obviously you're looking at how things go together in the shop and how to do them, how to put them together more efficiently or effectively. So there's a lot of great opportunity here. I have a team of 14 right now that are on the Lean team. Great people. They know their job really well. They've been in all different areas of aircraft. So they come together with a great background and history. So the mentors in this area are going to be people that have been probably with the company for 30 years or more, and they really understand how things work around here, and they would take you under their wing and really teach you in this short period of time as much as they could possibly download on you, and try to help you gain as much knowledge as possible about how our shops work and how the lean thinking methodology is alive and well in our plant. So on the time frame, again, same thing. We could agree on a time frame to whatever works out best for whichever candidate we pick. And this is a really exciting opportunity because you learn so much from being in this lean position. It really does help you get a great overview of a lot of different areas of the facility and a lot of different other career paths that you may want to take.
Awesome, Ron. Great overview.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions for Ron about this opportunity, or?
You mentioned that you'd work it out with the candidate that you hired. Are you only hiring one per position?
Yes, I am right at this point. One for lean, one for first article.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. So if you're interested at all in, if you're a student of lean or continuous improvement, or it's also been called, Six Sigma, Kaizen, there's a lot of different names for it. There's different variations, but it all falls under the lean thinking umbrella. So if you're interested in that at all, and improving efficiencies and helping with flow and cleaning up shops and making sure that, not physically doing it yourself, but understanding where things belong in a shop and how they should flow and how things should be placed. This is a great opportunity for someone like that that's really interested in doing that.
Awesome. Thanks. Well,
You're
if
welcome.
there's no other questions, Ron, we look forward to seeing some great candidates, and we'll get some interviews set up for you next week. Or
Great.
the week after.
I'm excited to see some of the candidates. I want to talk with some of them and see what they have to offer and what we can offer them.
Awesome. Great. Can we go to our next one? I believe this is the 787 project.
Can you hear me?
There it is. Jim, I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay.
This is Jim Hoyer. Take it away.
Okay. Yep. Like Lane was telling you, I'm Jim Hoyer. I'm a senior engineering manager for the 787. So I have responsibility for the engineering for the Section 41 is what Alex was showing you, being loaded into the Dream Lifter. Also the pylon you see up there in the upper right-hand corner, that's in the orange. I think it holds the engine onto the wing. We build that here in Wichita as well. And then the leading edge structure is built both in Tulsa and in Malaysia. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for some really driven individuals with some really good communication skills, someone that is not afraid to get their hands dirty, has some idea and understanding of process orientation, so understanding why you want to have a process. The duration for this project is 4 weeks full-time. We can work on that if you can support full-time or not. We can definitely be flexible. What the description really is on the 787 engineering side, we have released engineering that they're building out there today, and engineering that we're currently releasing, revising, rolling, changing to facilitate the shop. And sometimes we run into issues on that engineering. Say that you should have called out per spec, you should have called out this one specific fastener for this grounding requirement or whatever, and we called out the wrong one. So that causes issues out in the shop. So in order to understand what caused the issue and how to correct that issue, we have this process, what we call 8D, or root cause corrective action. So you spend some time where you define what the root cause of the issue is. That say, why did you call out the wrong fastener, or why did you call out the wrong shim, or whatever. And then the next step of the process is to determine what the corrective action for that process is. So we can actually address the error, change the drawings, and also educate, and we'll look at ways to prevent that error from happening again in the future. So as the intern, you'll be working with a mentor, and you're going to be working to refine that RCCA process specifically for 787 engineering. Now, Spirit's a big company, and Spirit has a lot of business writings and procedures that already exist. And we need to comply with those as much as we can, or at least document which ones we are not going to comply with. But we'll need you to understand the issues, establish templates, basically develop the 787 process to more quickly and more efficiently utilize the RCCA process. So you'll be working with the engineering group, really closely with the engineering group and the mentor. The next slide shows kind of a example of a four-square. We call this a four-square chart. It's basically, this is an issue we had within engineering. This was on our pylon, where the wire bundle was actually too big for the wire bundle support. So we go through and we determine what the description and the objective is. We say what the current state is. We say what the future state of what we think it's going to be. We give status of where we're at, what the root cause findings were, and then we give a schedule, and then we present this to program engineering, right? So you can see I mentioned 8D before. You can see there's 8 different steps at the bottom. Kind of give a bird on the wire chart, show where we're at in that process. So this is an example of an RCCA. So you'll be helping to develop a process to help facilitate the generation of this, facilitate the template for this, and also you'll be getting good exposure to a lot of the engineering issues. So the last chart I'd like to present, next chart please, is what 787 feels like, and I've been talking with my managers about this as well. What we feel like you're going to gain from this micro internship on the 787. And like we were talking about before with the AD, you're going to get exposure to real world engineering issues. You know, if there are engineering issues, if they're a major problem, they're a minor problem, maybe even potential safety issues, you're going to be able to see what a typical engineering program has for issues, errors, problems. That's very valuable, especially when you're starting out. If you have an idea of what to kind of look for, what kind of errors have happened in the past in your career, whatever that may be, if you're in mechanical engineering or stress engineering, whatever, that's very valuable information. You learn from the mistakes of others. You'll fundamentally be able to establish, understand existing processes, help execute that engineering process, and you'll help to kind of see the importance of why we need an engineering process, why we bother documenting the steps we take to do and solve a problem. You know, meet the requirements of AS9100, meet the requirements of what Airbus or Boeing or Sikorsky or whoever, or what requirements they have for this kind of thing. And you'll also have a ability to, when you're done with this, you'll have went through a systematic approach to identify and solve problems, like the RCCA problems, and this will help you in your career to improve designs, improve efficiency, basically be an overall more well-rounded engineer.
Hey, Jim, it's Lane. I just wanted to comment real quickly. This really sounds like a great opportunity, as did Ron's, about number one, the real world application to engineering, but really solving and making Spirit better.
Yes, absolutely. This will help us be better, absolutely. Any other questions?
Those are my favorite kind of projects, right? Real world application, make Spirit better.
Are you only willing to suggest to take applications from both junior and senior engineers, potential engineers?
Gracie, what's your class year?
I'll be a junior in the summer. That's why I was curious.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely is.
You're fine.
Absolutely, no problem. Now this is be a good stepping stone for the rest of your classes too.
Yeah, I really like.
Oops, sorry. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I really like that there's real world experience and the fact that you can, I mean, learn more about the processes, and I mean that's going to be huge for any engineering student. So
it's a good leg up. I kind of wish I had some kind of exposure like that when I first started. I wound up making my mistakes like every other engineer, not learning from others. So.
I had a question.
Sure.
So when you're mentioning this RCCA process of, solving different types of issues, how long does that process usually take?
It's usually led by our lead engineers. They're the more experienced engineers, and they will pull together a team. That team will have, some will have skin in the game, some of them won't. Kind of, you want different perspectives as you pull this team together. Typically, it takes about probably a couple meetings, maybe 2 days, to understanding like 2 1-hour sessions to get a decent root cause for what most of our issues are. And then the corrective action usually is identified in the end of the last meeting. So 2 days, couple hours, but I will caveat that I'm saying that there's been some pretty significant problems that we've looked at RCCAs, and they took several weeks. So some of them, most of them are pretty simple, not that big of an issue, but there are a few out there that can be kind of a doozy, and cause you to spend quite a bit of time on it. Does that answer your question?
Definitely. Thanks.
No problem.
Hi, Jim.
Awesome.
My name is Sergio. I just had just 2 questions real quick.
Sure.
For this position, say if you did give it to one of the interns, kind of what's the expectation when we're working a part of this team? Because I'm assuming that it's you're working across departments, right? You're working across the shop floor and everything else.
This will be engineering focused, but what the deliverable will be was a established process on how, like that second chart I showed, the Foursquare.
Mm-hmm.
Just give some structure to the process.
Right.
Give the engineer an understanding how to. I need you to fill out this form, follow this flow diagram. Understand a good, strong process the engineers can live with and will produce good results. That's what the end goal will be.
Okay.
But in that process, you do gain a lot of exposure to engineering issues. You get a lot of exposure to engineering. In order to be able to put that process together, you got to understand it enough to what engineering usually typically does in order to develop that process. Long way of saying it, but does that make sense?
Yeah. And my second question was just, would our classes of like manufacturing processes and materials engineering kind of help us with this position a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Any process knowledge is good.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? All right. Well, if there's nothing else, if you have any questions, just send them to Lane and she can get a hold of me. I really appreciate your time and listen to this spiel.
Thanks, Jim. We appreciate you.
No problem.
All right. I was going to see if there's anybody from Fab Quality, Bill Whitson, or another attendee for the next. He was the one. Can we go to the next opportunity? Megan? There it is. Fab Quality. Bill, are you on? We're going. We're rolling with it. Okay, so Bill Whitson has a great opportunity over in Fabrication Quality. It's really 2 projects in one. He's still looking for one full-time really student for the month of January. One is going to be the PPV team, where it's a large long-term project. We need some additional support. It's really going to be about going through a process checklist, reviewing operator work instructions, engineering requirements, and a process audit checklist for operators. That, I don't have a whole lot of additional color around that. And then the third-party estimating tool, obviously, we are continuing to bid on new work that we take on in fabrication. So fabrication meaning that we make different parts that may go into larger sub-assemblies. But our quality organization is in need of a tool that estimates potential new work based on features of the parts. So we want to use estimating that will be vetted with our quality experts all around the fabrication organization. So this tool should have logic built in for dimensional characteristics, processing requirements, and assembly requirements. So an IE, so an industrial engineering background, is going to be preferred on that. Obviously, Bill's looking for somebody who has people skills, who's detail oriented, and highly proficient in Excel. I'm going to stop there, see if anybody has any questions. I will take any questions specific around this opportunity back to Bill and his team. I wasn't sure if Ron, maybe you might have some additional, could you round that out a little bit more for me? I think you may be muted.
There we go. Okay. Am I here? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So yeah, having a little bit of the quality background as well. I know a little bit about this. I've heard that there is obviously a lot of new work being bidded on in fabrication, as Lane mentioned, and they have a need for something that's going to help them to plug in basic characteristics similar to the FAI side of it, and understand what it's going to take to actually do the inspection on that part. So, and it's not necessarily for like detail inspection like what we do in FAI, but for just understanding the basic, how many characteristics, what are the processing requirements, and just pulling all that together into a some sort of a format that can be populated by others once you depart, to kind of give them a tool to understand if we have 10 webs we have to inspect, or we have 400 holes that have to be inspected, what's it going to take as far as a manpower time frame to do that, or just something like that. Not necessarily any more detail than that, but just hours or time of some sort to do those inspections. That's my understanding
That's
of the
awesome.
project. I could be a little off on that, but that's my understanding of the project anyway.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Okay. Megan, can we go on to the next one? I'm excited. These next two are really exciting. So Amy, you're up.
I actually did not start talking before I took it off mute, so that's a win. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. The two internships that fall in my space are a bit unique. Let me back up and just say, so Amy Williams, I lead our corporate social responsibility, which includes like our corporate giving, any type of community engagement, community volunteering, all of that stuff under my umbrella, as well as my other hat, I lead diversity, equity, and inclusion for Spirit. So happy to be here and join you guys today with this very unique opportunity. I will also say these two internships are very near and dear to our CEO. These are technically his internships. You just get to report to me for the month for the micro internship projects, but these will be something that are very much on his radar and projects that we'll be working very closely with DOC. I'm not sure how many, with DOC's Friends, which is its own nonprofit 501c3. You heard Alex mention DOC in the presentation, and they are their own separate entity, nonprofit organization, but one that we work very closely with and support quite heavily, just given the nature of, we built DOC originally, and many more B29s just like him. And so we're very fortunate to have helped restore DOC and also help build its new home. I think it's been in its hangar for about a little over a year. Actually, it's been about a year and a half over by the airport. So DOC has an education and learning center. I'm not sure if any on the line have had a chance to go over and visit. I know right now with COVID, things are a little challenging to visit in person, but we are still gearing up and getting kind of that education and learning center built up and so that it's ready when students are ready to take field trips again and to go on site for visitors to Wichita. So internship. Our CEO sits on the board of the National Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. And I don't know how many, again, on the line know, but there are several affiliate National Air and Space Museum or affiliates across the nation. And so we were looking at, what are the possibilities? Because DOC certainly has lots of really rich history and speaks a lot about, again, aviation in this space. And so we want to look at, is it possible for, DOC to become an affiliate of the National Air and Space Museum, which is pretty cool. So I do know the formal process for applying. It's pretty hefty. Not everyone gets the prestige of calling themselves a Smithsonian affiliate. So this intern would really be a project manager responsible for looking at that comprehensive application. I know the process has started, but you'd be working very closely with DOC's Friends has an executive director, and you'd be working very closely with him on making sure that that application is complete. All of the T's crossed, I's dotted, maybe, chasing down some additional information to get that application submitted. So we'll see how that goes. So that's part of it, part of the internship. But I would say that's the bulk of the responsibility for this particular one. Given that process has started a bit, and yes, this could be up to 40 hours a week, but certainly we could be flexible, I think, dependent upon your schedule and what makes most sense. This particular internship could also bleed a little bit probably into the other one in terms of supporting and helping the other intern project as well. So I know I'm kind of going fast, but they do blur a little together. The second one we're calling Rosie the Riveter. So not sure again how many of you were, but in that era, in that time that DOC was built, was really when a lot of, what we call our Rosie the Riveters, women entered the manufacturing space, particularly in aviation, was no different. And so a lot of them were the ones that were responsible for building the B-29s that were, being massively produced and shipped out of, right here in Wichita. And so we want to be able to help tell part of that story within DOC's Education and Learning Center. Today, there is currently a small exhibit that highlights some of our local Rosie the Riveters. But really, we want to build that exhibit out. We want to tell the story, the impact of women and the contributions they've made to our industry. And so I think starting with DOC and even maybe telling that story beyond. So as I said, what I think ideally they're looking for, and granted, as I said, DOC is a nonprofit, so we'd like someone to take a look at what exists today in terms of that exhibit and what it could be. And I think that the options are wide open. Someone who has a background in this space or interest in curating exhibits, certainly I think that, that would be an advantage, but it's looking, I think, ultimately we'd probably want to option A, B, and C. If we wanted the Cadillac version of exhibits, this is what we'd like to see. And maybe over time, how do you build to get that there? And so if you have A, B, and C, that's certainly some options that could be presented around the history, the impact, and around women in aviation. So in a nutshell, I know those are two probably very broad descriptions, but I do see, as I said, the other internship, the project management for the Smithsonian one, I think could bleed into helping support our partner with the intern working. That's the primary project is the Rosie the Riveter exhibit. So questions on those? I know those are unique and not necessarily, as I said, engineering majors, but I think just about anyone who has some project management skills can look at, or aptitude, can look at the first internship. And then the second one, certainly you want to have that creative eye and, I don't know if it's art history, art museum, curator, any type of background, graphic design, we don't have any specifics, I don't think, of major there. We're a little bit open, so.
Yeah, Amy, I just want to call out. So Michelle had sent me a question in the chat, and she was specifically asking for these two internships, what majors are you looking for? And I replied that you were open to all majors.
We are. It could be, if an engineer has a background or an interest in doing this work, we would love to, have that conversation. If we have a business major who, is, really interested in done research or done, work on Rosie the Riveter or project management, we'd be open to that. So right now it's really more about finding the right student who has the right passion, because a lot of this is going to be very self-driven. I mean, as I said, you'll be working closely with their executive director for DOC's Friends, but we really need someone to take and own these projects and run with them, especially the exhibit.
I had a quick question regarding that, if that's okay.
Yes.
So when I was asking that question about the majors, I'm actually a management major, and I was wondering how would that work for these two internships?
I think the management would be great for the Smithsonian. So for the first internship around the Smithsonian application to be an affiliate, I think that certainly to be in that management space, you find good project manager skills. But I think, and all that would help certainly in your major. You're corresponding with, the professionals with Smithsonian, and then of course, pulling together information here from Wichita within our site for Doc. So I think it'd be highly beneficial.
Okay,
Good
so
fit.
thank you so much.
Hey, and Amy, I wanted to call out, Cheyenne Stillinger messaged me and she says that she's one class away from completing her museum and exhibition certificate. Would that help out?
Love that. Perfect. See, she could tag team. Yes. That is the type of student we would need. So again, yes, that one's music to my ears. So Cheyenne, yes, please apply. I think this would be great experience to anyone's resume that has an interest in museums and curating. And I think certainly this would be a fun project to work on. It has local relevance. We have our own very local Rosie the Riveter that we, like to talk to. We've done some extensive footage and things that, someone could put to, use to their advantage of putting things like the exhibit together. So yeah, that'd be great.
I want to call out, you guys are messaging. I want you to speak up and tell Amy. So Amy, I have Rhea Morgan on the line, and she's a curator for the Lowell D. Holmes Museum. So she'd love an opportunity like this.
That is awesome. Yeah, as I said, that is, sounds like a great fit. Again, I encourage you guys to apply. Let me know if you have specific questions. Lane, I don't know if my information, contact information goes out with this deck, but you're welcome to include it, and I'm happy to answer or try to answer any follow-up questions. But as I said, there is somewhat of an exhibit today that exists. So I don't, you're not starting from scratch, but it's really elevating it and it's taking it to that next level. And as I said, it will get into not only design, but also I think budgeting in terms of so if this is what you're proposing, what will that cost? All that in terms of building it out, I think, which is an exciting opportunity for someone in that space, I think, to do that.
Amy, I was just going to ask, I was actually the HRBP intern summer of 2019. We met a few times.
Yes, I remember you.
Yes, but I was wondering, with both of these projects, how much do you see the intern interfacing with other people? I know I'm a huge people person, so I would love to have as much interaction with other Spirit employees as possible, but I'm totally cool working on my own too. Just curious how that worked.
So predominantly these two, I would say these two interns will work closely together, and they'll work very closely with DOC's executive director, Josh Wells. Now, I will say Josh Wells is technically a Spirit employee. So, and technically these interns would be working for DOC's Friends, but this is, again, goes back to Spirit's philanthropy work and our commitment to DOC that these are, we're paying for the internships and you're technically Spirit employees, but working with DOC's Friends or, in support of DOC's Friends. So that would be the bulk of the work, but not to say we can't build connections internally of Spirit along with that. So working closely with my team, I have a small team that leads our community relations efforts. We do have a community relations intern that we will be looking for this summer. The work is quite varied than this. This work is very focused to DOC's Friends, but this could bleed, one of these interns could potentially bleed into that. So you just never know. That would bring you more interaction with more of Spirit teams. Now, what is interesting about this, and you say that, is that at some point, whether it's building internal of Spirit or maybe even outreach to general community, I think there's certainly a people aspect that's involved, or could be, for the right student that leverages it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Good to see you again. All right.
Awesome. Any other questions for Amy? Okay.
And my last little plug again, as I said, these are technically our CEO projects. So good FaceTime there. If anyone's interested in, meeting with the leader of our organization, he's going to care about these, and no doubt he's going to be the one that's going to review the projects and want to know the standings. So no pressure, but I think it's good exposure, certainly. to meet, you know, can't meet anyone, you know, better than the man at the top that helped make it all happen. So there you go.
Awesome. Thanks, Amy. Thanks to all the managers who joined today. Thanks to all the students. I'm overwhelmed with the response to this micro mixer. First time we did it. So just thanks again to everybody. Alex, anything you'd like to add before we turn it over?
Nope, I don't have anything else. So hopefully we see everyone that was on the call, send an application.
That's right. And don't forget, email me after you apply. I'm guaranteeing 10 interviews. So, and there will be more interviews, but I want, if you apply and email me, so it's a little extra effort, but I know you're giving that extra step, then I'm gonna randomly select from those. So really excited. So please go apply, do it in the next 10 days. I know you got Thanksgiving and turkey on the brain, but you'll have a little extra time when you're at home. It takes 5 minutes. You can apply from your phone. So our website is completely mobile optimized. If you have your resume on, you know, whether it's in Google Dropbox or as a document on your phone, you can apply straight from your phone. We love call, text, emails. So we're completely moving toward that direction. So as Megan mentioned earlier, make sure you do check your voicemails, read your emails, because this is a really quick, short timeline. So we'll want to schedule things appropriately and quickly. So you'll know very quick if you're getting an interview, you'll know quick if you're getting an offer, and more importantly, you'll know really quick when you're joining the team. So awesome. Megan, over to you.
All right. As Lane said, we are absolutely overwhelmed and grateful to have you all here today. It's really wonderful. Thank you for the Spirit team. You guys have been great. Again, pay attention to your email. I'll be sending this out this afternoon. My name is Megan Knowles. I work with the Shepherd Career Accelerator. So you'll see an email come through from me with this slide deck. Having said that, if you do not receive an email, you can email WSU Hire, all one word, WSU Hire, and let me know. I manage that account. Let me know if you didn't receive.
Hey, Megan, I'm not picking up anything you're saying right now. If you want, you might just drop those instructions in the chat.
Oh, great. We'll do that.
Okay.
All right.
All right, everyone. Thank
So
you
much.
so much.
Hi, I have one last question.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah, and hang out in the chat and a little longer if you need those instructions. But I think, as Megan was saying, check your email. And so, but we'll drop those in.
Michelle, did you have another question?
Oh, no, it's me. I have a question.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, fine. So I see that my degree is suited for several of your internship opportunities. Can I apply for more than for multiple positions, or can I?
Yes,
I can.
Please do.
Okay, thank you.
Do it.
Hi there. I'm Nicholas Krizik. I also had a question. It might be better for Ron. I'm not sure if he's still in here, but I'm a computer science major right now. I saw that a lot of these were mechanical. I'm still interested in applying. I do have a aviation or avionics background through the military and a collateral duty inspector certificate through the military. I was just wondering which position for, I guess, the top 4 on those would be best fit for that. I don't know if Ron is still in here to answer that, since
He is. I think he's on mute again. I see you. I can't hear you. Oh.
Okay, now can you hear me?
There you go. Yes.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so your question was which of the top 4 of these was more suited toward your background and your degree?
yeah, specifically avionics is my background. I didn't know if any of them involved avionics also in there.
Not so much. Maybe the 787 position would that Mike was talking about, I believe it was. I think his probably would be most suited because they do full avionics integration into the 787 forward section. We don't do much on the FAI side or much with the lean. We do mostly structure with our piece of it. So I think the 787 part of it might be your best answer for that out of everything we've seen today.
Hey, Nick, I would second that actually, because we completely stuff the whole forward cockpit with avionics, and so that would probably be the best
Right.
lineup.
It is filled with wires. There's wires everywhere. So it's all kinds of avionics equipment and computers and wires and you name it. It has everything.
It does have everything. Yeah, this is Jim Hoyer. I'm the one that presented it.
Jim. Okay. Sorry, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah.
No problem at all.
Okay, thank you very much.
There any other questions?
Okay. Thank you. Sincere thanks to everyone for attending today. Exceeded my expectations. So looking forward to getting everyone's applications and working through the process. So thank you again. I hope everyone has a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. Safe travels. Everyone stay safe, please, please. And thanks again.
Thank you, Lane, Alex, Spirit, Megan, thanks for hosting. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.